is Chris Gray. I'm the Chief Technology Officer of RENU Communities, a subsidiary of Taurus Investment Holdings. President Biden recently called out the importance of sustainable retrofits and related it to easing the burden of housing costs. And energy retrofits combined with that to really look at the overall ownership cost or the overall occupancy cost of a housing unit. It's not just the rent or your mortgage that you're looking at, it's also the utility expenses, the maintenance expenses, and the comfort associated with the overall housing unit. Now, when we look at energy retrofits, you can affect all of those. You can impact your utility cost and the volatility that you see in your energy cost when you reduce your energy consumption and you replace fossil fuels. You can levelize those utility costs and reduce the burden. You can also reduce your maintenance costs. When you replace older, outdated equipment with new equipment, you can get better comfort as well as lower ongoing maintenance costs. Investors should focus on retrofits quite simply to avoid that obsolescence of the building in a carbon-focused market. Buildings represent over a third of greenhouse gas emissions naturally, and we have to focus on their energy consumption and related carbon emissions if we have any chance of achieving a carbon neutral energy environment by 2050. You know, net zero new construction is definitely part of the solution, but most of the buildings that are currently in place will still be in use in 30 years. So we have to focus on existing buildings as a key part of that solution. And investors have the most to gain by ensuring the buildings really meet the reducing energy intensity targets in order to maintain the value of that building long term. Investors have the most to gain from maintaining the value of the building from an investment standpoint, but the investors are also ensuring the value of that building to the environment, ensuring that that building is a valuable part of our energy future and is being part of the solution in reducing our overall energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions for the nation. Sustainable retrofits make older buildings more efficient by focusing on four major goals. The first of which is reducing energy consumption and eliminating fossil fuels. The second is resetting the maintenance baseline for a building. Third is improving overall comfort and the overall satisfaction of the occupant with that building. And the last is really tying all of that information together to track the long-term performance of the building. New energy efficient systems such as HVAC systems or new windows can reduce the overall energy consumption of a building and reduce its dependence on fossil fuels. And when you install these new energy systems, you no longer have the same maintenance cost of older, outdated, aging equipment. And your equipment failures are reduced, if not eliminated. Thus, you save on emergency repairs and nagging maintenance issues that can impact your tenant satisfaction. When you look at weatherization and improved controls, and modern equipment controls, you can help improve the occupant comfort. And then you can tie all of that together with tracking and measuring the performance of the building so that you know when your systems are getting out of spec and out of performance, and gives you the opportunity to constantly retune the building in order to ensure that it's operating at its peak efficiency. Retrofitting buildings is not easy. It's not cookie cutter. Every building's different. And RENU Communities recognizes that, and we come up with a unique solution that fits each and every building, because you have different geographies, you have different occupancy types, you have different uses of a building, and they all require a bit of a different energy profile. So you have to match the systems and the equipment that makes sense for that building with the overall financial analysis of that building. So RENU Communities really does think it takes a building by building scientific approach in order to reach the best retrofit. The US cannot meet its carbon emission goals through retrofits alone. Buildings consume their energy from the grid, and the occupants of buildings commute to those buildings in fossil fueled vehicles currently. So all of those work together to create our carbon emissions, along with other sectors such as industrial manufacturing. But just reducing the energy consumption of buildings, while it's extremely important because they represent about a third of the greenhouse gas emissions in the US, we have to focus on those other sectors and the way that they interact with buildings. So as we reduce the energy consumption of a building, if the grid is reducing its emissions at the same time, they work together to reduce overall emissions, but you still have vehicles that are commuting and occupants that are commuting to those buildings in fossil fueled vehicles. Well, in the future world where we electrify those vehicles, they're going to look to buildings to consume more electricity. So you have to have that combination of reduction at the building level with the reducing grid emissions and transportation that's able to work directly with the building in order to reach your overall carbon reduction goals. So President Obama said that we're the first generation to feel the impact of climate change and the last generation that can do something about it. RENU Communities takes that challenge head on, and we are fully supported by our parent, Taurus Investment Holdings. And we feel we are doing our part, and we hope that others will follow our lead and focus on the emissions of the built environment.